Ladies and gentlemen, it is T.E. Lawrence and Alda Abutai.
I am Alda Abutai. 75 men have I killed with my own hands in battle. I scatter, I burn my enemies' tents. I take away their flocks and herds. The Turks pay me a golden treasure, yet I am poor. Because I am a river to my people.
Live from the sands of the Arabian Peninsula. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first of what we hope to get to be a daily broadcast, eventually, of a roundup of news articles. Sufyan's done a lot of really good stuff with the academic world. He's writing articles and he's slowly but surely, methodically, tap, which he's good at. He's just good at just tapping along and getting people on board. So we're going to talk about a whole range of things, in particular with a generalized broad stroke, grand chessboard, the great game, how Eurasia is being formed and how America is caught up in their poxy little silly impeachment and all the Civil War garbage talk. Meanwhile, the rest of the world moves on. So that will be the generalized theme while we look at Russia's continued presence in the Middle East, the Stalinist dream, the Soviet dream, and how this is progressing at an accelerated rate. We are not against the Russian people, no one has suffered more as Christians and believers than the Russian people, the Ukrainians, Baltic states, the East Germans and the Poles and so on. We're not against them, but we are against Putin, who is clearly a bastard son of Rothschild, along with Xi Jinping, Rouhani and Zarif. Zarif and Rouhani, if you didn't know, Rouhani spent 6 years in Scotland studying Sharia law, as you do in Scottish universities. That's where you do your PhD in Sharia law, hanging with Jack Straw, who, of course, is from the circle of Lord Levi and Lord Jacob Rothschild himself. You won't see any analysis from the big stars out there, but we will continue to just tell the truth. We are not against the generalized Israeli population. We're not against any Sunni, Shia. We don't want to take sides. And if you feel us going that way, it's not intentional. We simply know that ordinary people simply want to raise their children, go to the beach, have a barbecue. For some of us, drink a beer. For others, just do the simple things in life. Or if you're a Saudi, you first get your student visa to the US and then you have a beer quietly on the side before you return home. Don't they? Very naughty Saudi kids. So anyway, what we're going to do is I want to really make this Sufyan show because he's collected so much of the articles and he's really good from the academic sense. So this is our first show, God willing. We won't see any interference and I think it'll be okay, we think. But Sufyan, hand it over to you. What's on the news and current events from academic world Saudi?
Well, I don't know about academic world Saudi, but what I've been trying to do now that I've finished my, let's say, briefing document, I've titled it Industrial Zionism. It's just recording the last 100 years of geopolitical machinations, technology transfers.
So that's the name. That's the name of the paper, Industrial Zionism. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I call it. Yeah. Yeah, because as we, your show and discussed, that what the aim is to try to make Israel an independent or a superpower, then it needs the elements that can enable it to project power, and that is technology or military technology. Or water technology, as BP likes to say. So, because water is scarce in the Middle East.
Israel now is a cyber power, it's a water power, it's a solar power, it's an agricultural power, it's a milk power. Can you imagine? This makes Israel very powerful. This makes Israel very powerful. This makes Israel very powerful. And what it is basically the meeting ground between big data, IT, and connectivity. Everything is being driven from this nexus. Everything. For example, new industries are being formed. What's the first new industry that's being formed? It's right here in this room. It's the cybersecurity industry. Big data, AI, connectivity. Big data, connectivity, artificial intelligence. Let's go back to cyber. That's the first industry because everybody else needs it.
So this
and
is
of course, as he said in that 2019 lecture, cyber is the real domain of power. Let's quickly cut to that. Boom.
Cyber is a real domain of power. And and cyber is a real domain of power.
Cyber is the real domain of power, and you're trying to get that through to the heads of Arab academics and just the Middle East region in general. Is that correct?
Yes, and as well the American academic world. So I've also contacted the Washington Middle East what's it called? Middle East Affairs Institute. That's the Grant F. Smith people. Lawrence Wilkerson gave a talk in one of their conferences 2 or 3 years ago, and he also brought up the problem of Israeli drones or American drone technology being given to the Russians via Israel. So he touched upon that in his brief discussion in that forum. So I think it's what I've
Just to explain, Larry Wilkinson was the 2IC of General Colin Powell and has been hugely outspoken against Israel. In fact, he's in the movie Vice, which is a movie about Dick Cheney, and they laugh at him saying, "Oh, Larry Wilkinson, he's a true believer," just to clarify for people who don't know who Larry Wilkinson is.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Anyways.
I'll put the clip up now. Boom. Magic of video editing. Clips up.
Date seems to be the only tricky department. That's Colin Powell. His guy, Lawrence Wilkerson.
Colin Powell. Never met a camera he didn't like.
Wilkerson's a true believer.
Okay, there's the clip. Carry on.
Okay, so the aim is to try and get an American studies group or a think tank, and I think they're ideal, and with an Arab think tank as well, so that each can publish in their own language, in their own cultural setting, and then using that bridge, we can then take it to the different business classes in America and the Middle East, and we can have a respectable front to this issue.
But Sufyan, I'm confused. Shouldn't we be reaching out to the ADL-controlled white nationalist movement? Maybe go on 4chan and insult people with crass language, which would be my style. Why are you reaching out to academics? What for? Can't you go on Facebook, do a smiley face on something? I'm being very sarcastic here, ladies and gentlemen. So you're actually reaching out to people with power. So you're lobbying people with power. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm lobbying among others, the former finance minister of Lebanon, who responded to us positively. I think also included you in one of his responses, Mr. George Korom. So these are the types of people that have a clean hand. They're not corrupt. They're not aligned to any axis. Saudi or Iranian or Russian or American. They're neutral and want to have just peace, but also dignity as well. So that is important. So they're kind of the respectable front. I'm hoping that they take up the subject and we can move ahead, and I can.
Okay. Excellent. So that's a good little intro just to say to people we are working at doing stuff. Remember, this video will be up on our Patreon $10 a month supporters first. Anything extra, like extra went to Sufyan to pay for audio equipment and whatnot as he translates into Arabic. Now, Sufyan, what articles have you got up? What do you want to show us for today or round up?
Well, just something I shared with you yesterday, an interesting development and something that I've pointed to in my own document. The UAE and Syrian, the Emirati state and the Syrian state, Assad, and the cooperation in telecommunications and in certain banking, let's say telecommunications and banking QR code technology. So there is
so after leveling Putin, quote, saved Syria, by leveling it with cluster bombs and unguided bombs from the Air Force. Are you saying now all of these countries are now going to get together and rebuild it somewhat by putting in the 4G, 5G and electronic infrastructure first? Is that what you're saying?
It looks that way, and I've seen initial development plans. They've been put for, development plans that one Syrian architect, she's known, Marwa, her name is Marwa al-Sabuni. People can Google her and buy her book. She's quite good. She actually...
do you have the article? Do you have any articles to put online? Sorry, do you have any articles to put on the screen?
Yeah,
choppy. So this is our first show, people. Once we get in the rhythm, it'll be all good. It's Sufyan's fault. Alex Jones recently said, I will put it in. He said, those, what did he say? Arabs learn to wash their hands, or they don't even have toilets or something. I was just, dear God. So if you hear me making jokes, it's just based on that. There was a fly flying around Sufyan. I said, did you wash, Sufyan?
So this is...
Oh, here we go. What's this?
Yeah.
This is awesome. That looks great.
Yeah. She wrote quite an interesting book called Battle for Home. And in it, that's the book. In it, she details some of the problems with that architecture, the way that the cities were built, and how that affected the relationship between different sects and whatnot. And she also talked about, in that book, she talked about the reconstruction plans, some of the government's new reconstruction plans, and their plans to build up, essentially Soviet-style towers instead of the Mediterranean hamlet, towns that Syria and the entire Levant is known for. So
she doesn't want big, beautiful, simple, efficient, Luciferian, big square blocks. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, she doesn't want that.
Wow, what a strange concept. Prince Charles will love her. So she's into architecture, and I understand there's some stuff going on with gardens and permaculture. Did you mention something about that?
You mean myself? Yes, I'm doing that, but nothing on a grand scale.
All right, well, that's really interesting, and I think that's good info for people who aren't in the region. Just these little stories about Syrians trying to get control of their country back as they're sitting in the middle of Israel, Russia, and China. Isn't Russia fighting with China over rebuilding contracts?
I think the Russians are bankrupt and really are waiting for the Europeans to come in. That's the general view. They're waiting for the Europeans to come in and help. Otherwise, the Russian state is bankrupt and they can't help much with anything.
Yeah, the low oil price killed them.
Yeah, well, so this is something else as well. Syrian Law Journal Twitter account, and they have their own website. And they're just sharing news. This is from yesterday. Let me just read this. For the first time in Syria, electronic payment services utilizing QR codes have been introduced via a mobile application created by Bank Beno Saudi Francis. So that's the Saudi-French bank. Companies have been developing electronic payment processing and gateway products to cater to the Syrian market. So that's clear. So let me just go to my document. Let me just read this part here. All right.
This is really good, by the way. I've never seen this utilized properly. I've seen a couple of people doing it, so this looks really great.
So look, okay. Is it now?
There we go. That's great. Yep, that's good.
Okay, so UAE companies associated with Israeli military companies are already moving in to rebuild telecommunication networks in Syria. One such is Vesco. Actually, you cannot find a website to this company. You just can. It's very dubious and it's very strange. I could barely find anything about it. Anyway, operating out of Dubai's Silicon Valley, Vesco was placed under American sanctions and fined. This is back in 2014, by the way. sanctions and fine for providing Syrians with prohibited US equipment to monitor and control internet traffic. This is when the civil war was still raging, you know. So yeah, so this is just something that I wanted to share with you from yesterday. And let me just go back to this. And let's go.
Oh, by the way, I note in your documents, you've got the links. Have you backed up those links with FireShot by turning them into PDFs, which we can then imprint into the document itself in case the links disappear?
I've done some of them. But I've yet to finish that. So I've just
okay, that's good.
I'll try and get it done, you know, during this month, hopefully, because it's more than 250 links and the studies, and so it's just a lot of work. Anyway, so this is also something that we talked about, Iranian regime. Is this showing?
Yes, beautiful. It's great.
Okay, so Iranian regime betrays its principles with China deal. This is a 30-year or 25-year deal between Iran and China worth $400 billion. This is actually something that Ahmadinejad, you know, your favorite president, came out against, and he's actually trying to run on a platform, you know, one of its pillars is just against this deal because it allows Chinese military and navy to build in installations and bases and whatever. So he's come out against that.
Yeah, look, I remember when I was there in late 2016 into 2017, and I was sitting on the plane from Malaysia, and all the business class was filled with Chinese. I don't know whether they were from China or ethnic Malay Chinese, but it was full of them. And we went in one door, and all the Chinese businessmen went in another door. When you walk around Tehran, and you see Chinese businessmen everywhere. I mean, it's not that they really stand out, I assure you. And of course, it was also full of Swiss and Germans. And that's when I realized the very close relationship with Zarif and the Swiss bankers. And I stayed with friends of his, and the Ziba Lashkari, the sister of the lawyer. And look, these are very nice people, don't get me wrong. Her son is in Swiss banking, and she used to fly backwards and forwards to Switzerland. And as someone said, Brendon, the reason they've gone so hard, the Trump administration, on the sanctions, it's protecting Rouhani and Zarif from the Soleimani and the Ahmadinejad clique. Because the only way Iran survives with these increasing sanctions is with euros. And the euros flood in over the Turkish border, cash injections from the Swiss and German banks. And I went, aha. That's why he can tell Soleimani to go F himself, because he'll say, Soleimani, well, if we don't get those euros, look at the sanctions, we're going to collapse. Would you agree? That sounds pretty accurate. It's shoring up Rouhani and Zarif's base. The sanctions are actually shoring them up with the conservatives, because what we're saying is we have the relationship with the Swiss and German banks. If you get in the hardliners, you won't be tolerated, and Iran will collapse without the injection of euros. Would you agree that is the gift of the Trump sanctions, which are the Netanyahu sanctions?
Well, it looks that way, yes, doesn't it? Because at the beginning, the promise was that they would open up, and Rouhani signed the deal, Zarif signed the deal, the nuclear agreement. They had, I think, 1 year, 1 year worth of no sanctions regime until Obama came.
Yeah, and in January 2017, I was there, and the New York Times were actually running tours to Iran. And I had the 2IC, or the third in charge of Facebook, try to friend me, the 57-year-old lady with the grey hair, when I was actually in with Zarif's friends in his hometown of Hunza. So there was lots of stuff going on. So all of a sudden, that all stopped, and we saw the hard line come on. And someone said to me, because I said, well, won't those sanctions harm, they're harming Iran, isn't that the point? They said, no, it's not. It's keeping Rouhani and Zarif in power, because they say, we're the only ones with access to the euros, boys. So if Soleimani's clique or Ahmadinejad's clique want to get fussy, we'll just tell them. You won't get any money and Iran will collapse. And I thought, you know what, that sounds right. That's how it works.
Well, yeah, it sounds plausible. I'm not an Iranian. I don't watch Iranian politics, the internal politics. But from what I read, that is a good scenario. That is something that somebody like Henry Kissinger would game out. I mean,
he would, wouldn't he?
So yeah, at least, you know, as you said, Najat tried to reach out a hand, even if nobody wanted to talk to him at the time.
Well, I remember they accused him of being Jewish. The Guardian. They actually accused him of being Jewish. I mean, I've never seen that in my life. So you must be doing something right if you're being accused of being Jewish by the Guardian.
I didn't see that article. Did they accuse him of being Jewish?
I'll edit it in. Yeah, there was a bunch of articles came out. Oh, everyone knows Ahmadinejad's actually Jewish. And I thought, geez. Well, he did do that. I asked, can I meet Ahmadinejad? And the lawyer went, oh, yeah. I said, maybe we'll see him on the ski fields. And he laughed and he said, trust Ahmadinejad would not be seen dead with the rich kids of Iran on the ski fields. But you could see they weren't very keen on me because he said, oh, no, he receives visitors. But I could tell they weren't that keen on me meeting him. Look, I know his limitations. His little Muslim Brotherhood hand claw signs and the pyramid with the 33 windows. I understand. But Ahmadinejad was very clever. He always preached peace. This is the age of peace and dialogue. Hamas were doing the same, preaching peace, and just that Nasrallah, every time Bibi was in trouble, up would come Nasrallah with get out or you'll leave in a box, all non-Palestinian Jews. And I just thought it was, and then Rouhani and Zarif, you know, the moderates, these are supposed to be moderates. They literally foam at the mouth. And that's like, I think you doth protest too much. I think they're just, you know, if you're hanging around Davos and Chatham House and John Kerry and co, you are not a hardliner, clearly, by any means. But they sure do put on a bit of an act.
Well, the connection with Iran goes back to Khomeini and his French connection, his German-French connection. So
yeah, it's not just the French. It's not just the French Commune, which is actually, it's a commune that he came from. It's the German film crew who they say were a German intelligence. The German, this is what people are missing. I heard about it, but didn't really click till I went there. And someone who'd stayed there for 6 months with a fertilizer company who I knew quite well, she said, because I said, my God, they're in love with Hitler in Germany here. And the joke was that Hajj for an Iranian is a trip to Berlin. And she said, oh, did you just work that out? And I said, well, I'm a little bit shocked because not that they don't believe there was any Holocaust. They don't believe in any industrial gas chambers. They believe Hitler was a little bit harsh, but he meant well. So they are completely over on that side of the argument, as opposed to the other extremist argument. And so I'm not saying the Iranians want to slaughter all the Jews, not at all. They're actually very moderate in general, even the hardliners. But the point was, I was so shocked at how close Germany and Iran are. They are very close. And let's remember where Mohammed Atta and his friends spent 3 years in Hamburg, Germany. We forget about this. So when they say things like Osama bin Laden was hiding out in Iran, remember his mother was Shia. And
was she?
didn't you know that? His mother.
No,
yeah, that's what I heard. Well, we better look that up. The point is, there's a lot of these networks are internationalist in origin. It's not like Iran is hiding. They have an internationalist privatized banking cartel network. And I'm just saying it's a little bit funny that Germany holds Mohammed Atta, the lead hijacker, for 3 years with the involvement of German intelligence. And we completely forget about these little details. Anyway, back to you.
Well, yeah, as you say. But the connection with Iran and Germany goes back, I think, to the romantic movement in Germany to get and maybe we can get our president Nazi to talk about it.
Oh, the tame Nazi. Everyone's been asking, where's the tame Nazi? He's shining his boots, man. It's very busy. But yeah, also because the Aryans, National Socialist ideology said the Aryans came from Persia or the Iranian region. So I mean, put it this way: there's a lot of these little things you don't know about till you go there, and you hear about sanctions, and yet there's a shipload of oil goes every week. Every week it goes from Iran through the Straits of Hormuz, up through the Red Sea, through the canal, up to Germany worth 500 million euros, so €500 million a week. And that's still going on. So I mean, what's this sanction talk? So clearly, Europe is really going its own way and teaming up with Russia, in my opinion, pretty brazenly. And despite all the talk about the international criminal courts and taking down Netanyahu and putting Israel in the bad books, they seem to be cooperating all very nicely.
Yeah. I think now they're cooperating on the Europeans that will get the Russian vaccine, because of the current shortages with Pfizer, and so they'll get the resistance axis vaccine.
Oh, all right. So it's sort of like a fine wine. It's like wine wars. You get a fine aged vaccine from Russia. You can get a nice wine or vaccine from. It's a gold rush. They had the Muslim terror gold rush. Now they got the COVID vaccine gold rush.
Yeah, the vaccine diplomacy. Yeah.
Well, I'm good you're laughing, because I think we all need a laugh.
Well,
it is. I mean, it's a bizarre world.
What's there to do? What can you do?
Yeah, well, look at that stuff. When I got back from Iran, my eyes were opened, and it was hell to leave. And you know, Mr. Passport, they were really nice people. Don't get me wrong. I was crying. I mean, I was really depressed leaving Iran. But I thought, I just can't stay here. I feel very uncomfortable. There's something wrong. And of course, it all clicked on the Belt and Road stuff. But I just want to add that I don't know what I want to add. It's bizarre. I just can't believe this self-evident stuff. Like, people are like you, they watch one of my videos and it all clicked instantly. And yet it just doesn't go anywhere on the mainstream, in the alternative media mainstream.
Well, something is wrong. One thing is wrong is fewer people have read Anthony Sutton's work than they claim. And this is a major problem.
And we're forgetting about it. When I came through the conspiracy ranks, Anthony Sutton was talked about all the time. Technology Transfer, Major Jordan's Diaries.
But nobody wants to read because it's a boring book. His books are boring. They're very technical.
Yeah.
But it's important.
And that's why they're good reference books.
Yeah, these are what makes geopolitical projection a reality is the ability to dominate space, to dominate sea, to dominate the air. So if you're not talking about technology, where did you get that technology from? How did you develop it? And cybersecurity and all that, then you're not talking geopolitics, really. These are the small elements that make up the final, the big picture or the result, which Israel is strong. Why is Israel strong? The Armenian lobby in America is one of the biggest lobbies, but they don't go anywhere. I'm sure they bribe people. I'm sure they dine and
it's called a limited hangout, like a Corbett or a Whitney Webb. They only have to, you just mention something once for 3 minutes, and that's enough for the people, apparently. Yeah, they don't drive home the point.
Yeah, yes, but also, you see, the most prescient thing you said was, where does Netanyahu get this power? How can he walk into Washington and everybody stands up, claps for him, even,
Like, it's like Stalin. Watch when Stalin walks in and they're all like, it's the same. It's identical.
Yeah, how? What is it? Exactly, what is it? I have one quote in the document where Netanyahu says, "I'm going to set Washington on fire." That was before the Monica Lewinsky affair came out. What he did, it was at the time of the peace negotiations between Jordan and Israel. They had their peace negotiation, and also the Syrians had the peace negotiations, and they tried to come up with a deal, and Clinton was pressing hard for that, and the Israelis weren't happy because the Americans wanted the Israelis to give up the Golan Heights and whatever. So there was a lot of pressure at the time after the fall of the Berlin Wall, and they wanted to bring about a general peace in the region. So Netanyahu went to Washington, and they seem to have tapped the phones in the White House, similar to what they did to Trump. And he said,
the old mega spy group.
Yeah, and he set Washington on fire. So nobody was talking about the peace process, and also at the time there was something called the China Gate.
Yes.
It was the transfer of technology from the United States to China, and Israel was implicated as well during the Senate hearings and all those official proceedings. So there was
no one talks about that. That was the Clinton's little China thing. Yeah, I put that in video 5, the China Gate thing.
Yeah, so there was a lot of pressure on the Israelis, and Netanyahu came in, and suddenly the problem was with Clinton and his sexual endeavors, or whatever you want to call them. Probably Epstein.
Yes, it was. Yeah, all of that stuff is just so stupidly predictable. I keep saying to people, these people aren't in on it. The Clintons are just like 3-4 levels down from the top. So is Trump. They're just actors. They're doing what Wall Street and Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan and the City of London tell them. And the attack dog, the sergeant of arms of this bikie gang called Jewish Power, and when I say Jewish Power, it's in the context of British Jewish activist Paul Ison's brilliant article called Jewish Power. That's a good friend of Jeremy Corbyn, and once you understand who British Jewish activist Paul Ison is, and that's another one to get in touch with. He did get back to me many times and featured me on his blog. Then Paul went off the rails and started doing debates with David Duke, which were admittedly very funny, but asking for trouble. So once you understand that British Jewish activist Paul Ison is in fact very good friends with Jeremy Corbyn, you can understand why the Jewish Board of Deputies had an absolute fit at Corbyn. So you're getting all these politicians who, they mean well and they want to open their mouths, but they soon learn to shut them when the attack dog, the sergeant in arms of the bikie club, comes calling of the political Zionist Jewish power movement. And of course, remember, many Israelis and Jews, remember my information came from Israelis, Australian and American dual national Israeli citizens who was over there and said it's worse than you know, Brendon. This was back in 2005. And so this has been going on a very long time. And when Bibi can walk into the Congress and just everyone claps like a bunch of performing seals, a foreign, hostile foreign power. And of course, he went into the UN and stared them down for 40 solid seconds. Just remind everyone here, cut now to Benjamin Netanyahu, 40 seconds saying, I hope you will now understand.
Utter silence. Deafening silence. Perhaps you can understand.
Okay, I mean, you can't make that up. When I saw that, I thought, my God, is that a fake reality thing? Why didn't someone stand up and just throw a shoe at him, man? Something.
If you want the facts, it's a size 10 shoe.
Actually,
anyway, we got to laugh.
I know the friend of the Iraqi journalist who threw the shoe at Bush. She knows his wife, or they're divorced. I'm told he's.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's in London, I believe.
Oh, so he's basically became a folk hero after that. But you got to give George W. Bush credit. When he ducked, and it was a beautiful duck, he said, size 10. I mean, that was a pretty good quip under pressure. Give the man some credit. But he said afterwards, look, I understand people are angry and I wouldn't like to be occupied either. So I think Bush was just this sad, pathetic, closet bisexual with his boyfriend, Jeff Gannon, sad figure, really. I think he was really felt bad. The whole thing was a total disaster on purpose with Kissinger and associates, Paul Bremer and Dick Cheney and good old Donnie Rumsfeld. But anyway, that's history, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now, if the Americans want anything, in Iraq, they go to Iran. They know where to go.
Yeah, Kissinger's happy.
They control all the militias, all the stuff. And
but when they're ready, of course, they will decimate those militias. They'll decimate the no problem. When they're ready, when they've finished using Iran, driving the Arab Sunni population into the arms of Israel.
Just last year, there were big protests in the south of Iraq, mainly in the south of Iraq. So those are the Shia population in Basra, Najaf, and other places. And so the Shia kids, they were out and they tore the pictures of Khomeini and Khamenei and started lighting them up because they didn't have anything. They were terrorized by these militias and.
So they were Shia, did you say? So they were basically saying we're Arab nationalists, we're not Shia nationalists.
Yeah, they want. There's no electricity, there's no water, there's nothing. America spent. People don't understand. The United States government spent upwards of $3 trillion. $3 trillion for the last 15 years in Iraq, and there's nothing there. All that is there is what Saddam built and the people before him, but mainly Saddam because he was the longest reigning and the last one. So,
but now China and Russia can come in and be the saviors, I guess. Now Kissinger's left hand.
But this is something I've argued with some Iraqis who are happy with China moving in. I said, what's the difference? You're going to be. You had American aid. At least that was the American aid, so it's not debt. Now we're going to have the Chinese issuing debt, and if the same politicians are still there, then you're going to have that debt, wrapped around the youth of Iraq, and probably they won't achieve anything. They won't build anything, or if they.
But will they care? Will they care if the schools are built and there's electricity? Will they care about the debt?
The question is, will the schools be built? Because these are such corrupt people in Iraq. The current politicians, not only the Shia, the Kurds and the Sunni, they're so corrupt. All of their bank accounts are in Dubai, are in Switzerland, and in London. They don't care anything about Iraq. So that was...
Yes, Dubai, the place where the servers are for Telegram, you mean? That wonderful Russian Telegram service, which has all its servers in Dubai, the Russian-Israeli app. Sorry, I just thought we'd better warn people about that.
Mr. Smirnov said it wasn't in Russia.
Yeah, it's in Dubai. I mean, oh, wow. Perfect. Israel's favorite, hangout.
Yeah, they've set up with the Dubai government, because the Emirates has a kind of federal system. So they have these different emirs or princes ruling over different sections of the country. And then you have the king, who's in Abu Dhabi. So Dubai has this parallel to the Silicon Valley project in California. They have something in Dubai, and that is deeply connected with Israel.
Yeah, I went there with the little robot. I did a little show, and the robot said it loved Bibi. Here's a clip. Anyway, yeah, it was clear. Why don't they have any trees in Dubai? It was bare. Why didn't they put trees? Won't they? The Israelis, don't worry, the Israelis will come in and drip feed it all with their electronic Internet of Things drip feed, because there's just no damn trees. It's terrible.
It's a modern, what they call it, megalopolis. So that's
with no trees.
Yeah, no trees. I went there 2 or 3 times, but I don't think I'm going back again.
Lots of Russian hookers, these blonde, platinum-haired Russian hookers or choir girls. I could sit and see them going in and out of the hotel. I thought they must be off to Russian Orthodox Church in the region or something.
They have also the East European, Ukrainian, and also the Romanians are there. So I feel sorry for those girls. Really, it's quite a horrible life to live.
Yeah, Omar was saying they have no rights. If they open their mouths, they're just immediately deported, so they can be raped and beaten. But he said a lot of them don't care. They make so much money, and the Russian men are hard, so they can come to Dubai, make a fortune, and pay off mum and dad's house and buy themselves a house, and they're happy.
Well, it's not. Then why do they claim to have Sharia then? Drop the pretense.
Well, this is the hypocrisy. It's like being in Malaysia. Malaysia whips 2 lesbian women. They got caught kissing and fondling each other in a car. And even Mahathir said, I don't think this looks very good. And they whipped them under Sharia law. But, the corruption is just rife. Half the politicians have got boyfriends on camera. Najib Razak and the 1MDB scandal where Chinese intelligence officer J-Lo, who went to Wharton School of Business, he's compromising most of the political and business class of Malaysia. Oh, that's okay. Still $7 billion. No, that's fine. But couple of girls having a pash in the car. Whoop, out with that whipping stick, or like that poster I showed you in Kuala Lumpur City Centre store, where the woman's just there spreading her legs like that. It's just disgusting. And where's the Sharia law? And the little Sultan of Brunei with their beekeeper suits, and the Saudi women with their $10,000 Louis Vuitton handbags. And it's like I'm there, with $300 going, geez, what did I just sacrifice my freaking life for? Well, they're buying $10,000 handbags, and they got white women spreading their legs with a black man in a blatant racial, white women are open for business. Bring your African money here, because there's a lot of the wealthy African rich kids are there. And it's like, what the hell is Malaysia? I don't understand any of this. And I realize that the British love it, the system. Rothschild loves that top-down system. So you get them you make endless rules, like a Pharisee sitting in Babylon, making endless rules and regulations, which like Admiralty law, you're going to break 15 laws a day, and it just keeps people under control, these endless laws. And at least in Malaysia, they're pretty moderate. And I mean, they've got a very difficult job holding together 3 completely different countries. You've got the Malay Muslims, you've got the ethnic Chinese Malays, you've got the ethnic Sri Lankan Indian Malays, who all hate each other. And I don't know how the hell the country stays together, but I love Malaysia. It's a great place, very metropolitan, and just so many different people there from all over the world. I loved it. But I credit they've got to keep the country together. But this Sharia law hypocrisy, I mean, it's just, come on. One law for one, and the poor, the rich are fine, but the poor get the cane. I don't think that's very fair. Anyway.
Yeah, anyway, so just back to Iraq and the China, they signed just 6 months ago a memorandum of understanding with the Chinese government.
This is Iraq and China.
Yeah. And they want to issue, essentially do what Hitler did, just issue money, cash, for the Iraqi government to buy Chinese cement, steel, all that sort of thing. And in exchange, the Iraqis would sell foodstuffs and oil. So that's the deal.
But isn't that wonderful that the Trump administration, who cares so much about American troops, decided to pull everyone out so China could move in, and Russia? That was very, very kind of the Trump administration. It's almost like China's greatest ally, Israel, wanted that.
The Americans are still there physically, but I think economically they're being displaced. But thus far, the Iraqi government, the Iraqi currency even, is reliant on U.S. Backing, U.S. aid. So the only reason it hasn't collapsed is because the American government is supporting the Iraqi state.
So is it just, it's all, so this is my first port of call. I'm not saying it's right, but I think it is. It's all horseshit. It's total theater. And at the top, they're all hanging with Kissinger. It's just total theater. So it's just theater, and below the surface, they're just all cooperating, all busily building this new world order, 5G surveillance city smart city system.
Yes, unless the generals can make the decisions.
Yeah, I think the key is Paul Bremer, Kissinger and Associates, setting Iraq on fire and knowing that the Pentagon said, no, if you sack the Sunni, we've got everyone ready to go. We've got the military police ready to restore order. And Rumsfeld, Cheney and Bremer, just all Kissinger and Associates. I mean, well, supposedly Rumsfeld hated Kissinger. So did Dick Cheney. Well, you could have fooled me, because they certainly couldn't wait to do everything Kissinger wanted in Iraq. And they set that place on fire. And when you understand that's what Bremer did, and you understand he's the head of Kissinger and Associates, you can begin to make sense when you see Kissinger's relationship with China, when you see his relationship with Israel and Russia. I mean, Kissinger's shaking everybody's hand. He is the shop floor steward. He is the shop floor supervisor for Rothschild, running around while everyone's going on about Soros. Why don't we talk about Kissinger? That's why I give credit to Steve Bannon and the War Room, who hammered Kissinger relentlessly, and City of London, till he got arrested, and now doesn't mention his name. But when we understand that at that level, they're all in it together, certainly, generally, you can say that. I'm sure there's fighting and going on, but the only hope is the Pentagon generals who aren't sold out and sitting on a board with Henry Kissinger. Or the bright young colonels, as they refer to the bright young colonels, is sort of code for colonels who are not yet corrupted by the system and ready to do a coup. I'm not asking for a coup exactly, but the more we can educate the military in the United States, instead of saying free Palestine, free the world, we can say free America, free the world. They are as occupied as Palestine. And if they can get free rein to actually apply generally the principles of their constitution, instead of people fleeing in fear when they see the US 5th and 6th fleets on the horizon, maybe they'll actually race down and welcome Americans, because I don't believe the American heart is bad at all. It means well, but you are infiltrated with, let's call them what they are, communists. It almost feels embarrassing to say the word communist nowadays, but all bankers are communists, and it's the privatized Rothschild networks. He's been running them for 200 plus years. And once we understand that, we look at Roosevelt, the history of this infiltration, the Silva Master spy ring, where Nathan Gregory Silva Master, born in China, develops a perfect English accent before he gets to be one of the biggest spy rings in the US, where the top levels of the White House and the Roosevelt administration. I mean, once people understand that, then they can begin to understand how that flows on through into all administrations, right wing, left wing. They're everywhere. And Bibi is not a right-winger. He's a Bolshevik. He's a violent, reactionary Bolshevik with a good dose of Trotskyite internationalism. And once people can understand it, get out of this right-left paradigm garbage and just see them for what they are, agents of a privatized trading guild run by the UK and European banking cartels, with Klaus Schwab there, with the Rothschilds of this world, who truly believe that they must instigate the controls on the peasants, put them back onto the commons, and put them in smart cities to teach them manners. And to be honest, I probably agree with most of it, but I don't know if they even gave they destroy the education system and they destroy the social network system, and then they complain that the peasants, as John Milton said, they who would poke out the peasants would poke out the people's eyes, then complain they cannot see. Now, if these elites, and that's another discussion we'll have to get in with the tame Nazi and Julie Sivola. If these elites, I mean, how are you going to have a group of elites rule everything when there are a bunch of slack-jawed, cocaine-addicted, hooker-using, pedophile whack jobs? I mean, what? Are these the elites who are going to leave us to this bright, shining, smart city destiny? Will Prince Charles bring his begonia patch and organic farming techniques to the world? There, Sufyan?
What can you do? I mean, the British king or the English kings have been usurped by parliaments a long time ago, by democracy. So you can't do. What can you do? What kind of authority does he have? I don't know the English constitution, but from what I understand, is not much.
So, do we need a license to vote? I know we're getting off subject here, but if people are that easy to stampede. If they're that easy to stampede, should you have to have a minimum IQ to vote? Should you have to be taught in schools about data analytics and how people are being manipulated?
There's an Indian poet named Muhammad Iqbal, 20th century. He said, votes should not be counted; they should be weighed. And so we have to come up with something else. I don't know what it is.
Starship Troopers. All right. Well, these are discussions we'll try and have as a broad base. Just to clarify, people, I'm in love with the Marlboro Man, hopeless romantic, but I don't know if it works anymore. But I'd like to give it one last chance. Minus the political Zionist movement, let America be America as it should have been, with some common sense laws and common sense things. And, you know, since Eisenhower, and you can argue Kennedy, and I got problems with Kennedy. If James Angleton was naive about Israel, Kennedy was naive about the Soviet Union. But since Kennedy and Eisenhower, basically, you've had nothing but, you know, even Nixon meant well, I think. But, you know, when you're hanging out with Henry Kissinger, I mean, what's he asking for? Look, why don't we wind it up? This is our first go, but we're going to have a more structured show in the future with notes, and we're going to stick to it. So it'll be around 50 minutes.
I think,
is there anything else you want to? Yeah. Anything else you want to end with? And we'll just call this our first attempt, and we'll just keep doing them as we go, at least 3 times a week.
Well, just back to the Kissinger or Pentagon. This fight between the military establishment and the political establishment isn't just in America. So it goes back to America, to MacArthur, to Patton, and also to General Marshall. And his violent disagreement with Truman on recognizing Israel and supporting Israel. So, and it goes also to the British establishment. Even General Allenby was against supporting, against also the immigration of Jews into Palestine. He saw that this would cause problems in the future, that the British or then later the Americans would have to be militarily involved permanently if Israel is to be, you know, if they want to support Israel. And they didn't want their own men to die in the Middle East for useless wars, because the Arabs, they wanted to cooperate with the West. And that was...
Yeah, that's what people forget. The Arabs were very pro-US, pro-business. You didn't have to threaten them with aircraft carriers to keep the Suez Canal open. They were happy to do business. They were very happy with the United States. And then in came this Zionist poison, total poison through Truman.
Yeah, and since you brought up the Suez issue, when Nasser came into Egypt, the first thing he did, he wanted to rearm and to modernize the Egyptian army, and he called on the English, the British, and the Americans to support him in modernizing the Egyptian army. But it was this network around Eisenhower, and I think at the time it was Churchill as well, who you know, they wanted no. They said if we arm Egypt, then, you know, what will happen to Israel? So it was this as well, the Zionist element that prevented the cooperation.
All right, we'll leave it there. There's a lot to discuss, and we'll try to do 2 or 3 a week. Eventually, we want to get to the point where we can whack up a daily round up of the specific events of the day, and hopefully we can do something like that. All right, Sufyan, thanks very much. Can I get a takbir? No, too radical. You're gonna have you'll have your ISIS flag out next. No, it's just a joke, people. Just remember that Sufyan is in Saudi Arabia, and we have to at least be cautious to some degree. If you, anyway, we'll just leave it at that. But we'll do whatever we can. And please remember, these go up on Patreon first. My Patreon is a $10 supporter per month, $2.50 per week. You'll get to see these first. And all monies go towards these little projects to do with the academic world. We're going to the world of power. We're lobbying people with power and influence. there's no good telling grandma. There's no point telling Uncle Bob, the mechanic down the street. It's not a waste of time, but it's about prioritizing energies. If James Corbett and Whitney Webb and all the other stars are just going to keep telling you how horrible it is, there's no plan to politically lobby. We hope we can embarrass these people, that they might actually do something more than mere pathetic rhetoric. Or James Corbett's now saying, well, we've got to lobby at the local level. What the hell does that even mean? You've got to be specific. You've got to go to military, policing, intelligence, academic world, and you've got to go to the politicians themselves. You've got to lobby them and get them to do what they're told. That takes energy. You're not going to get instant validation and a smiley face or a thumbs up like you want. You want your drug. It takes effort. Adults do this. Little children bitch, whinge, and whine and protest on the streets. You don't protest on the streets. If someone calls you out to protest, you're getting suckered. You've got to lobby power. And so, God willing, we'll try and do that and be an example. We're slowly getting organized. Thanks, Sufyan. We'll get much more disciplined, and I want to let you do more talking and really hoe into each article as we go. Thanks so much for chatting.
Thank you, Brendon.
And thank you to the various intelligence agencies, private and public, that allowed this call to take place.